What if your 3D printer could carve walnut? Right now, two machines are building the same chess piece. One is laying down molten plastic, layer by careful layer. The other is carving solid walnut at 13,000 RPM. One adds material, one removes it. But under the surface, they're kind of the same machine. They both move in X, Y, and Z. They both take in the same STL file. They both follow long streams of G code that tell them exactly what to do. For years, though, they lived in completely different worlds. 3D printers became polished, consumer-friendly, and elegant. CNCs stayed oily, mechanical, a bit intimidating. But that gap is closing, and today I want to test just how close we are to something special. A CNC machine that feels like a 3D printer. So I'm rebuilding my entire chess set, properly this time. There was a time when both of these machines lived in the same world. The world of hex keys, loose belts, mystery firmware, and the acceptance that half your hobby was maintaining the thing. If you wanted to change a tool, you reached for spanners. And if something went wrong, you'd get grease on your hands. And if you actually finished a project, well, that was a bonus. But then 3D printing leapt forward. Machines became enclosed and interfaces became intuitive. Maintenance became almost elegant. You stopped feeling like a mechanic and started feeling like a designer. Lasers followed, cutters followed, even plotters and engravers moved into this new era of polished usability. But CNCs didn't really keep up. They remained powerful, arguably the most capable of all of them, but also the most intimidating, the most industrial. The one that still felt like it belonged in a workshop, not next to you on your desk. For years, that gap just widened as 3D printers leapt further forward, until recently, because a new generation of desktop CNC machines started appearing, enclosed, automated, promising something different, something that felt, dare I say, bamboo-esque. And that's what made me curious. Now, this whole idea became very real for me because of this chess set. This was always a point of compromise for me. I built the board from walnut and maple, proper hardwood, nice weight, beautiful contrast. But the pieces, well, they were 3D printed. And they did the job for a while, but there were many downsides to this. Firstly, the appearance. Now, I originally printed them in brown PLA, and they looked like brown PLA. So I upgraded to wood fill filament. Bit better, but none of the grain and the beauty of real wood. The other problem is that chess is tactile. You're constantly picking the pieces up, and so plastic just didn't feel right. So I hollowed every piece and filled them with ball bearings to give them some weight, which worked, except they rattled. So I dripped glue inside and plugged the hole and sanded the layer lines, varnished them to try and add strength. And after a few years of enthusiastic use by my darling children, plastic lost. At some point, you realise that you're going to quite ridiculous lengths trying to imitate a material that already exists. You're fighting physics. You're trying to fake density, fake tactility, fake that sense of permanence. And that's when the idea becomes irresistible. What if the same STL file, the same digital workflow could give you the real thing? not a simulation of wood, actual walnut, maple, and all the other thousands of woods become available as filaments to use. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm rebuilding my entire PLA chess set using the Carvera Air in proper walnut and maple. But this isn't about whether this device works. It works. You've been able to use a CNC to carve things for decades. The real question is, how close does this feel to using a 3D printer? How intuitive is the software? How much hand-holding does it need? How much am I involved? And how much does the machine just take over? And when it's finished, how does the result actually feel? Because if the workflow starts to feel familiar, if the friction starts to disappear, then CNCs aren't a separate category anymore. It becomes another material option in the same ecosystem. So let's go. Both machines begin in CAD. You can design your chess pieces in Fusion or download them from MakerWorld like I did and export the STL. With a 3D printer, that then goes into a slicer. With a CNC, it goes into CAM software. Different terminology, but it's the same fundamental idea. You choose your material, you choose your tool size, you choose speed versus detail, and then you generate tool paths. One slices, the other carves, but structurally, they're remarkably similar. So the real test isn't whether it can carve wood, it's what it feels like to set up the job. With a 3D printer, the workflow is usually very clear. Import the model, choose your material, slice and print. CNC software uses different terminology, but it's aiming for the same destination. You import the STL, select your material, choose your tools, and generate tool paths. Conceptually, it's extremely similar. In fact, in some ways, it's simpler. There are fewer settings than a typical slicer, so there's less opportunity to disappear down a rabbit hole of tweaking. But the flow does feel different. It's less linear and less guided. Everything you need is there, it just doesn't quite hold your hand in the same way that modern 3D printing software does. There's still a subtle separation between creating toolpaths and running the machine that printing has mostly abstracted away. It's not difficult, it just feels one generation behind in polish. But once I understood the logic, once I knew where things lived, it became surprisingly straightforward. Once the file is ready, the experience shifts from software to hardware. And this is where the Carvera really surprised me. The tool changing system is genuinely beautiful. You just pull to release and then push to lock. Take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in. Okay, I'll stop. But that's it. No spanners, Allen keys, or getting the tightness just right. And remember, this is holding a razor-sharp bit spinning at 13,000 RPM. Then there's the probing process. The machine tells you when to attach the probe, which is stored neatly inside, and it handles the Z height automatically. It measures the tool length for you. It checks stock length with a laser. It asks you to swap bits and remeasures so you don't have to worry about offsets. This is the moment it starts to feel familiar, because this is what modern 3D printing did so well. It removed the fragile steps. You don't manually set nozzle height anymore or calculate offsets. The machine just takes care of it. And once everything is measured, you just press go. For this project, I deliberately set it up to use two tools. A larger tool to rough out the shape quickly. Big stepovers remove material fast. And then a smaller finishing bit to refine the curves and surface detail. That's something I really like about the CNC. You can optimize for speed and quality in stages. It's almost like printing the bulk of a model with a massive nozzle and then swapping to a 0.2mm nozzle for the outer shell. The roughing pass carves away most of the waste, and then you start to see the form emerging from the block. Then it pauses, asks for the finishing bit, remeasures automatically, and carries on refining. And from there, it's largely autonomous. The only intervention I needed was clearing excess chips occasionally, because the Rotary tool doesn't work with the dust extractor. And then when it finishes, it parks, beeps, waits. And when it finishes, you're left holding a hardwood version of your STL file. Beautiful grains and no trickery needed. And you do suddenly realise how far 3D printing has still to go to match the sheer beauty of natural materials like wood. And it's worth mentioning that the Carvera Air isn't limited to wood. I've put a link in the description so you can take a look at the details, but you can use it to carve metal, carbon fibre, wax, epoxy resin. You can even use it to manufacture PCBs. So it's useful for a whole range of purposes. You know, all those things where 3D prints start to get too brittle, to doing something a bit more artistic. Of course, one piece isn't good enough to really test this out. So I kept going 31 more times. I think it's time for a little montage. With my settings, I was comfortably making 3 pieces a day. I doubled up the pawns so I could produce 6 of those in a day without much extra effort. It's steady, predictable, and it doesn't require me to hover over it the whole time. Although I do have my Reolink camera pointed at it so I can watch it constantly from my warm desk whilst doing other things. After a couple of weeks, the full set started to take shape, whilst I was planning my next video. Now, to be clear, this isn't a flawless magical device. It's easily the most accessible CNC I've ever used, but there's still loads of further improvements that could come along. The hardware is superb. Things like the tool changer exceeds 3D printing approaches, for example. Interestingly, the only real issue that I've had have mostly been me. I over-tightened one of these Allen key bolts and sheared one of them, but then Allen keys are the word of the devil. I've forgotten to tighten this locking screw a couple of times, and then I'm not saying that I definitely did, but I might have accidentally hoovered up the bolt that then fell out. I also accidentally mismeasured the length of the stock. Now, none of these were machine failures. They were Katie ones. And that's actually good news because 5 years ago, the friction would have been technical. Now it's mostly operational, and that's quite a shift. If companies like Carvera are now in a place where they can start designing for crazy idiots like me, so people can use these tools without reading the manual, which I haven't, and tighten up any opportunities for me to make silly mistakes, then it becomes truly mass market. It's still cutting solid wood at a high speed, but it feels robust and reliable. When I first got into 3D printing, the breakthrough wasn't that it could make plastic parts. It was that it became easy enough to use regularly. You'd download a file, press print, and get on with something else. And this is really starting to feel like that, just with very different materials. You know, when you first got 3D printing and you discovered sites like Makerworld and Printables, you realized that every one of these models was available to you to just print. Download it, slice it, print it. Well, I'm getting that same feeling again. Every one of those files that I've printed over the years, jigs, parts, organisers, little projects, they're all candidates for something more solid. The workflow isn't alien, but the output changes completely. Maybe you could use wood instead of PLA, or metal instead of PETG. It's the same digital world, but a different physical outcome. If you could remake one thing that you've already printed, but in real wood or metal, what would it be? And once you've got both machines sitting next to each other, sharing files, sharing design software, it doesn't feel like two separate hobbies anymore. It just feels like a broader material palette. And that's the shift. And honestly, that's more interesting than either machine on its own. But as for now, it's time to play. Well, that's it for this week. You'll see a lot more of this in future. If you'd like to find out more about this device, I'll put a link in the description. Hwyl fawr.